She won the argument. She got the last word, raised her voice, made her point, walked away feeling like she had the upper hand, like she won. And maybe in that moment, she did. But what she didn't realize was that the argument meant nothing to you, because you weren't playing to win the moment. You were playing to win the war. See, the man with stoic patience doesn't fight battles that don't matter. He doesn't trade peace for ego. He lets her talk, lets her lash out, lets her think she has the control, while he withdraws his energy, sharpens his mind, and builds in silence. Because he knows this, emotional reactions may win the argument, but emotional discipline wins everything else. She won the spark. You stayed focused on the fire, and the fire is long, strategic, ruthless. It doesn't need applause, it just burns. So let her feel like she proved her point. Let her believe she walked away stronger. But while she's busy reliving a moment, you're busy rebuilding your life. And in time, when her ego calms and her emotions fade, she'll look back and realize you didn't flinch, you didn't fold, you didn't lose. You simply chose the long game. If you're done arguing for temporary wins and ready to let patience do the talking, hit that like button. Subscribe, turn on notifications, and comment below. I don't react, I replace. Now let's begin. Number 1. You don't win by arguing, you win by outlasting. She needed to feel right, to win the exchange, to say what she had to say and walk away like she proved something. And in the moment, she did. She saw you pause, stay quiet, or maybe even let her leave unchecked. She thought that was weakness. She thought silence meant surrender. But that's because she doesn't understand the long game. The truth is, you don't win by throwing more words into a fire that's already burning. You win by letting the fire burn out, by staying calm while she overextends, by letting her burn emotional fuel while you conserve yours. That's not passive, that's precision. Most people are addicted to the short-term win. They need to be right today. They need to feel in control now. But a man with stoic patience doesn't care about the moment. He cares about positioning. He doesn't fight for a point. He builds leverage. And when the dust settles, when the emotions crash and reality kicks in, he's still standing, centered, unbothered. You didn't walk away because you had nothing to say. You walked away because nothing needed to be said. Her reaction spoke volumes. Her need to be right exposed what you already knew. She was fighting from ego, not truth. And in the end, she'll remember that you didn't chase, didn't snap, didn't engage. You just kept moving, and that's how you outlast. That's how you win the war she didn't even realize she was in. Number 2. Patience isn't weakness, it's strategic control. To the impulsive, patience looks like passivity. To someone caught in emotion, your silence feels like indifference. But a man who moves with discipline doesn't need to match chaos with chaos. He lets the storm pass. He watches. He waits. Because true control isn't in overpowering her words. It's in never letting them move you. She may interpret your calm as weakness. She may think your stillness is fear or guilt. That's fine. Let her. Because patience isn't for show. It's for power. And power doesn't always look like dominance. Sometimes it looks like complete stillness while the other person burns themselves out, trying to provoke you. Every time you choose not to react, you strengthen your position. You conserve energy. You think clearly. And most importantly, you deny her the one thing emotional outbursts feed on, a response. She'll say things to bait you, things to make you snap, defend, justify. But the more she reaches, the more she reveals. While you stay rooted, unshaken, unavailable to the emotional chaos she thought she could pull you into. That's how you stay above it, not by being cold, but by being calculated. You don't need to rush your moves. You don't need to correct her assumptions. Let her misread the silence. Because when the noise settles and the emotions fade, she'll look back and realize the man she thought was weak was just waiting for the right moment to move. Number 3. Let her win the moment. You're building the outcome. She needed to win that moment, to feel superior, to feel like she had the power. And you? You let her, not because you lost, but because you don't waste energy on moments that don't matter. While she's busy claiming victory in an argument, you're busy writing the next chapter of your life without her in it. You weren't silent because you were cornered. You were silent because you were done playing small games. You saw the bigger picture. You knew reacting would only pull you back into a cycle of emotion, validation, and conflict that served no purpose but ego. So instead of feeding it, you stepped back and started building something better, with your actions, your discipline, your distance. She walked away thinking she proved something. But what she doesn't realize is that the outcome isn't decided in a loud exit. It's decided in what follows, in how you carry yourself, in the progress she wasn't invited to be part of. And that progress? That's what rewrites the whole narrative. Because when a man evolves in silence, when he lets go of battles that don't serve him and focuses on becoming the version of himself no one saw coming, that's when the war is won. Not through revenge, through refinement. Let her think she got the last word. You got the last result. Number 4. Silence exposes the truth faster than words ever could. Arguments are loud, emotional, messy, and in the heat of it all, people say whatever they need to say to protect their ego. But silence forces clarity. It creates a vacuum where her mind starts doing the one thing she didn't expect, reflecting, because now she doesn't have your reactions to validate her perspective. She has to face her own behavior, without your emotional cushion. You didn't walk away to punish her. You walked away to protect your peace, and in doing that, you forced her to sit with the truth, hers, without distraction, without excuses, and whether she admits it or not, she feels it. That uncomfortable silence. That's what brings the real story to the surface. Because when a man doesn't respond, when he doesn't chase, defend, or explain, he becomes a mirror. And in that reflection, she starts to see where things really went wrong, not just because of what you didn't say, but because of what your absence made her realize. Words can be dismissed. Silence lingers. It creates space for her to feel what she tried to avoid. And the longer you stay quiet, the more undeniable it becomes that you weren't trying to win her over. You were simply done talking. Number 5. Discipline isn't just control. It's the message. Anyone can react. Anyone can raise their voice, argue, defend, and try to prove they're right. That's easy. What's hard? Restraint. What's rare? A man who can take a verbal hit and not flinch. Who can hear everything, disrespect, manipulation, guilt, and still respond with nothing but presence. That's discipline. And that's where real power lives. You didn't let her walk all over you. You chose not to hand her the emotional reaction she was looking for. Because you knew that the second you explode, you validate her. You give her the satisfaction of knowing she still controls the emotional tempo. But when you stay cool, when you stay composed, when you look her in the eye and choose stillness over chaos, that's when you shift everything. You've said more with your silence than any carefully crafted response ever could. Your calm was the boundary. Your self-control was the line she couldn't cross. Because in that moment, you made it clear. I don't operate at your frequency anymore. That's not indifference. That's evolution. And the discipline it took to keep your mouth shut, that was the message. Clear, sharp, unforgettable. Number 6. Her ego celebrates the argument. Her mind remembers the exit. When she thinks back on it, she'll remember the argument as her win. The one where she out-talked you, hit the last nerve, said what she needed to say and walked away feeling like she had the upper hand. That victory feeds her ego in the moment. It gives her the illusion of control, but that's not the part that haunts her. What lingers is the exit. Not dramatic, not loud, just quiet, absolute detachment. That moment when you didn't return, when you didn't chase, didn't text, didn't correct the record. The moment she realized it was over. Not because she left, but because you never followed. The ego needs a response to stay inflated. It needs conflict to feel alive. But when you give her nothing, when your last word is no word at all, her mind starts doing the work her pride refuses to. That silence becomes a loop, a question, a weight. She'll remember the look in your eyes when you chose peace over proving a point. She'll remember that you didn't stoop to her level, not because you couldn't, but because it wasn't worth it. And the longer the silence lasts, the louder your absence becomes. The argument gave her a win, but your exit, that's what gave her doubt. And doubt is the seed that grows into regret, all without a single word from you. Number 7. The war was never about words. It was about who changed. She thought she won because she said more, because she expressed louder, hit harder, walked away first. But the war was never about who spoke the most. It was about who transformed afterward, who changed, who built, who evolved, who became unrecognizable. She used words, you used actions, and while she was busy replaying the argument in her mind, you were rewriting your identity, quietly, sharply. You stopped showing up to defend yourself and started showing up for your future. That shift alone, that was the victory. She may have felt dominant in the moment, but months later, when you're sharper, stronger, more disciplined, more focused, when she sees you living in a space she no longer fits in, that's when the war hits her. Not with drama, with reality. Because you didn't just walk away. You outgrew her. You didn't try to win her back. You became someone she'd never expect you to become. And now, the man she argued with doesn't even exist anymore. That's the difference between noise and power. She used volume. You used silence. She fought for control. You focused on change. And in the end, she won the moment. But you won the man. Number 8. You didn't prove a point. You became the point. She wanted a reaction. She wanted the heat of the moment to define you, to paint you as emotional, unstable, or weak. That would have made it easier to justify walking away, easier to tell herself a story where she was right to let you go. But you didn't give her that story. You gave her stillness. No arguments, no explosions, no emotional scenes, just distance, growth, discipline, and eventually, transformation. You didn't try to prove that you were right. You didn't try to win her over with logic or guilt. You just kept moving. And that movement, forward, upward, inward, became the point. It became the evidence. It became the quiet storm that proved everything you needed to say. Because when she looks back now, there's no dramatic moment to cling to. There's no, he snapped, so I had to leave. There's only a calm man she couldn't provoke, a focused man she couldn't manipulate, a version of you she didn't expect and can't ignore. You didn't try to change her mind. You changed your direction. And now, that direction speaks louder than any debate could. You became the point she'll keep coming back to in her head. Not because you said the right thing, but because you walked away without needing to. Number 9. The man who doesn't argue can't be controlled. She was used to control, emotional leverage, pushing buttons, creating chaos, then watching you scramble to fix it. That back and forth, that was her comfort zone. As long as you were arguing, explaining, reacting, she knew she had access, control, power. But when you stopped, when you went still, when you looked at the chaos and chose to leave it untouched, that was the moment everything changed. The man who doesn't argue can't be baited. He can't be manipulated. He can't be dragged into a performance he no longer sees value in. That kind of man. He's dangerous, not because he's angry, but because he's free. Free from needing to be right. Free from needing her to understand. Free from the game entirely. When you didn't engage, you stripped her of her tools. You took away her script. And in that silence, she was left with nothing to push against. That's when the panic starts. Not because you yelled, but because you didn't need to. You rose above the arena she was trying to pull you into. And now she has no emotional access to you. Just distance. Just questions. Just silence that she can't interpret, and a man she no longer knows how to reach. You didn't lose control. You became it. Number 10. She'll realize too late that you never needed to win. At first she thought your silence meant she won, that walking away without a fight meant she had the final say, that your refusal to engage made you passive, weak, defeated. But what she'll realize, far too late, is that you were never playing for the moment. You were never trying to win her game. You were playing for something bigger, your evolution. You weren't trying to win the argument because you were already moving past it. You weren't trying to be heard because you no longer needed her to understand. And while she was focused on being right, you were focused on becoming better. And that better version of you, it's not returning her calls. She'll come to see that silence was never surrender. It was self-mastery. That distance wasn't avoidance. It was design. You weren't retreating. You were rebuilding. And what you built in her absence is a man who no longer has anything to prove. She may have won the argument, but that moment didn't age well. Because as time passes and your name becomes tied to strength, stillness and growth, hers becomes tied to what she walked away from. The man who didn't try to win ended up becoming the only one who did. She won the argument. She got the last word, the dramatic exit, the illusion of control. But while she was focused on proving a point, you were focused on proving nothing. Because real strength isn't loud, it's strategic. You didn't need to outtalk her. You outlasted her. You didn't need her validation. You built your value. And now, while she replays a moment, you're rewriting your entire reality. That's stoic patience. That's masculine restraint. That's what it means to win the war, by never needing to win the battle. If you're done arguing for attention and ready to move in silence toward power, hit that like button. Subscribe to Stoic Blessing, turn on notifications, and comment below, "I win by walking away." The loudest victory is the one you never have to explain. Thank you for watching Stoic Blessing. See you in the next one.